students, I am Rajashri ma'am, and this is the second part of the explanation of the story The Night the Roof Blew Off by Ruskin Bond. So we had studied up to the part where the old man decided to keep on lying on the bed because it was dark and stormy night, and the roof had broken, but he could not mend it at that time. So he decided to keep on lying on the bed. But how his decision had changed, now we will see. Icy water cascading down on my face made me change my mind in a hurry. Icy water cascading down, that means pouring down on his face, made his change his mind, change his decision in a hurry. That means quickly. Leaping from my bed, I found that much of the ceiling had gone too, and jumping from the bed, he had seen that that a part of the ceiling which was made out of cardboard or wooden board had gone off or broken down, and from that part the water was pouring in. Water was pouring onto my open typewriter, the typewriter that had been my trusted companion for close to 30 years, and onto the beside radio, bed covers and clothes cupboard. And he saw that his typewriter was also getting wet, and the typewriter which he used for 30 years and was very favorite to him, and and the bedside radio and the bed cover and clothes cupboard was also getting wet. The only object that wasn't receiving any rain was the potted philodendron, which could have done with a little watering. The only thing that was not getting water was the plant, show plant, philodendron. Though it could get some water, it would be better if it could get some water, rainwater. And picking up my precious typewriter and abandoning the rest, I stumbled into the front sitting room, only to find that a similar situation had developed there. And he tried to escape from there and take shelter in his sitting room, which was also his library. And he abandoned all the things, that means left behind all the things except the typewriter, and he started to save the typewriter. And he stumbled into the front sitting room. Stumbled in, that means he was an old man, and in a hurry he got disbalanced, though he did not fall. And in that way he went to the sitting room, only to find that but he tried to take shelter over there, but it had the same condition as his bedroom. Water was pouring through the wooden slats, raining down on the bookshelves, and the water was pouring through the wooden slats. The wooden slats are the wooden planks, or the flat pieces of wood by which the ceiling was made, and that had broken, and from there the rain was pouring down to the bookshelves. By now I had been joined by the children who had come to rescue me, and now the three children had come there by now, and they tried to help him. Their section of the roof hadn't gone as yet. Their room was the only room which had not which escaped from the calamity. Their parents were struggling to close a window which had burst open, letting in lashings of wind and rain. And their parents were trying to close the window of their room because it had opened. It had opened due to the lashing of wind and rain. Save the books, shouted Dolly, the youngest, and that became our rallying cry for the next hour or two. Dolly was the youngest child, and she shouted that save the books. She started saving the books, and they all started doing so for next hour and two. I have opened shelves vulnerable to borrowers as well as the floods. All the shelves the author had were all open. They had no doors to close them, and that is why vulnerable, that means exposed to the borrowers who try to borrow the books. Where there are some people who have a habit of borrowing books from the others, and they most of them and many of them do not return them ever. And so these books were also exposed to the borrowers. Dolly and her brothers picked up armfuls of books and carried them into their room, and they took as many as possible books in their arms, and they carried them to their room because their room was dry at that time. But the floor was now awash all over the apartment, so the books had to be piled on the beds. There were all the floors were all under the flood, and that is why they had to keep all the books on the beds. Dolly was helping me gather up some of my manuscripts when a large field rat leapt onto the desk in front of her. When Dolly was trying to take some manuscripts, manuscripts means handwritten materials or papers. She was trying to save them, and at that time a rat jumped onto the desk, and Dolly squealed. She cried in fear and ran for the door. It's all right, said Mukesh, whose love of animals extends even to field rats. He is only sheltering from the storm. The son Mukesh had told that, oh, it's all right, it's a field rat, it is trying to take shelter here because there is storm outside, and that is why it is trying to take shelter. And he is very much he's an animal lover, and he had a deep sympathy for the field rats too. Big brother Rakesh whistled for our mongrel Toby, but Toby wasn't interested in rats just then. Toby's mongrel is also a kind of animal, and he had a pet. It is a pet animal of Rakesh, and he called Toby, and the name of that animal is mongrel is Toby, and Rakesh called him by the whistle, but it was not interested to chase the rat. He had taken shelter in the kitchen, the only dry spot in the house, and the mongrel had taken shelter in the kitchen. Two rooms were now practically roofless, and the sky was frequently lighted up for us by flashes of lightning. And the two rooms had no roofs now, almost no roofs now, and the sky was showing its flashes of lightning because the roof was open. There were fireworks inside too, as water spluttered and crackled along a damaged electric wire. And there was an electric wire which was spluttering. That means it was making sound. It was exploding and making sounds. Noise. That means crackle means to make noise when the water falls on the electric wires. And like it seemed that fireworks were exploding there, and damaged electric wire. Presently the lights went out altogether, which in some ways made the house a safer place, and it was a boon that at that time the electricity had gone out, and the house became safer. Prem, the children's father, is at his best in an emergency. He had already located and lit two kerosene lamps. Prem was children's father, he was very good in emergency, and he had arranged for a kerosene lamp. And so we continued to transfer books, papers and clothes to the children's room. So this is the explanation of this part, and there are some questions, short questions. Why did the author leap out of his bed? The author leaped out of his bed because water was pouring on his face, falling on his face. What was the first thing that the author tried to save from the pouring water? The first thing he wanted to save from the pouring water was his typewriter. Which section of the roof had not been damaged by the storm yet? The section of the roof where the philodendron was there, that section of the roof had not been damaged by the storm. Where was Toby? Toby was in the kitchen. So this is all for today, students, and goodbye. Thank you.